Hi, friends. Thanks for tuning in to the Mental Fitness Unscripted podcast, where our conversation will encourage your healthy living journey. Inspired by our Team Quadzilla coaching motto, healthy living starts between your ears, we talk about mental fitness in ways that challenge us to think about our thinking regarding topics like habits, leadership, exercise, values, marriage, parenting, and faith. Our hope with this podcast is to sharpen you as we sharpen ourselves to be all we were made to be. So let's dive right into the conversation on this episode of Mental Fitness Unscripted. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, Todd.
Hey, it's great to be back with you again.
Yeah,
You're looking
always.
healthy.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. It's been good. Consistency over time, right? I mean, there's nothing new. You just keep going, and that's the plan. I know you feel the same way, so that's how we do it.
I do, but lately it's been really tough with time constraints and
Yeah.
should I call it time cravings by other things?
Ooh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
It's been good. I've been able to get out a little bit, but not like I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I pulled my calf. I pulled a muscle in my calf in June,
Ooh.
and I've been trying to get that back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's tough. I've wrestled with that for a while. I know what you mean.
Well, those take a minute to get back.
Yeah, they do. They do. And just as soon as you think it is back, you tweak it again. And so you're really got to be careful.
Yeah, you're just describing my life.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
feel pretty good. I think I'll run today. Oh, no, we're not running
Bad
today.
idea.
We're walking back
Yeah.
home.
Yep. Oh, shoot. Well,
You've got
I
something
have
on
a,
you've
I
got something
do,
on your brain here. I can
I
tell.
do. I have a word. I have a word that, you know how it is when you're in your studies or in my quiet time, I something will repeat. You know, it comes up over and over and over again. And this may seem completely random, but the word is insecurity. And
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and so I heard a commentary. We'll see how far I dig into this, but if you can remember the story of Saul in the Old Testament,
Yep.
okay, this is found in First Samuel for those maybe curious about what we're talking about in the scriptures. But if you look in First Samuel, Saul is appointed by Samuel, a prophet, to be the first king of Israel
Israel. Yep.
because the Israelites really wanted a king. They wanted to be like all the other nations, and they begged and begged to have a king.
And Samuel said, "Don't do it."
And Samuel said, "Don't do it," but God's like, "Well, let's give the people what they want, and we'll see what happens." And so Saul is appointed the first king. And there's some interesting text that occurs in First Samuel 9 and First Samuel 10 when he's first kind of coronated or appointed as king. And what this commentator says is that there's a couple instances where by reading the text, you might assume that Saul has this great humility about not feeling qualified to take this position. He comes from the smallest tribe and he's just a regular guy type of thing. And Samuel's like, "No, God has chosen you. You're the guy." And the commentator says, as we read further through Saul's story and through his character, we recognize that humility is not true humility, it's an insecurity. And those are two very different things that I want to unpack a little bit here because it's super convicting to me. The suggestion is that humility is others focused, whereas an insecurity is self-focused. So for Saul to say something like, I feel inadequate for this task, it's not because he's worried about other people, he's worried about himself.
And how he will appear to the other people.
Yes. And that just like drove a stake into my heart because I want to believe that I'm a confident person and that I have a humility about how I operate. And yet I wonder if sometimes I wear that as a mask for what is actually deep in my soul an insecurity that's based on some kind of pride or selfishness or fear that keeps me from whatever it is that I'm supposed to be. Am I making any sense at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
So
this mask that you wear that, yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah. So
I
so
should
I'm
say it's this mask we all wear,
yeah.
not you.
Well, maybe some people are listening to this and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. But I know that I have insecurity, but what I'm afraid, what I'm afraid of is that that insecurity is not rooted in a humility that's more concerned about the other people, but more about my own appearance or my own performance or my own, um, self-focus. And boy, that's to me, that's really convicting because that's not who I want to be. That I don't want to be that kind of person that's just worried about himself and how he appears to others. Because I mean, when we say that, we know it's ridiculous. We shouldn't be that way, and yet here I am admitting that I wrestle with that. So I just wondered if this idea, what you make of it, or if you have any thoughts.
You know, as you brought this up, I've had a few thoughts, and I'll share them with your permission. Um, I think we have to have an element. I I think there's two sides of it. There's the outside influence, and then there's the inside influence. Okay.
Mm, yeah.
Um, Humility, I think, has to own both of those. For me to be truly humble, I have to know that I don't know everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
There has to be an element inside of me that I need, there's a gap there and I need to fill that, or, whatever that is. I think it's all in how we approach that. The
Mm,
other side is what do people think of me? Well, number one, they're not thinking of you because they're all tied up in themselves. Okay.
yeah.
Every one of us owns this problem. Okay.
Yes.
How do I look to the outside world? And so we put this mask on. Um, Forgive me. I'm gonna. The first thing that came to mind. It's interesting that you said that this has to be. Um, it has to involve true humility. Really has to involve yourself, but it's also where you direct your energy. Is it is it to build yourself? Is it to I'm not sure how to explain this, but some people will take humility to the end, to clear to the end that I'm a victim. Okay,
Mm,
I'm picked on. Because of my background, my family, my race, my upbringing, we can blame it on it because of the government, because Trump is Trump and Epstein is Epstein, and we can blame all these things, but when it really
mhm.
comes down to it, I'm responsible for me and how I react or respond to those things that come to me. What's interesting is respond. I love the word respond because I have a choice in how I respond. And respond is the root word of responsibility. It's
Yeah.
how
Right.
I have an ability to respond, and it's my responsibility. Now
Mm,
that doesn't lay blame, it doesn't lay fault. It just lays responsibility on me on how I receive what happens. Okay? Does that
yeah,
make
yeah,
sense?
absolutely.
And so, we talk humility, and in my mind, there's a difference between cockiness and confidence. Would you agree with
Hmm.
me?
For sure.
Okay. I think cockiness is a blatant signal that somebody doesn't have confidence. They're they're
Ooh,
they're
yeah.
over they're
It's a
over
mask. Yeah.
it is they're overpowering that cockiness to hide that they're afraid, or that they don't have confidence. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes. Yes, I
And,
follow.
and let me try and illustrate it with this. The dog that I'm scared of is not the one that's yanking on the chain and barking and carrying on. That's not the
Mm-hmm.
one I'm afraid of. The one I'm afraid of is that's the one that's standing there, it's looking at me, and it's quiet. That's the one
Mm,
that scares me.
mm. Boy, that's a good point. Isn't that very true? How people will act the same way. They puff up their chests and
Puff up their chest and bark
they
and
make a
yank on
bunch
the
of
chain
racket.
and
Yeah.
flex their muscles and
Yeah. Yeah.
but the one that
Yep.
scares me is the one that's, hey, they're unflappable. They just
Hmm.
they stand their ground. They're quiet. They're not excitable. That's the one that
Yeah.
scares me. Okay, and
Yeah.
that and so where I'm going with confidence is I I don't want to call it the antithesis, because I really believe that humility builds a confidence, and it's a quiet
Mm.
confidence.
Yes.
We
Boy, I
usually
like
think
that. Yeah.
we usually think in terms of humility, being the antithesis of confidence.
Hmm.
I I'm not convinced of that. In fact, I hold very firm that someone that is humble
Yeah.
knows who they are, what their
Yes.
capabilities are, whatever they are, but knows their
Yeah.
capabilities, and will take responsibility for what happens,
Yeah.
and the outcome of whatever happens, they've accepted it, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter, and they
Yeah.
hold that confidence. And you've seen it, whether in a dog or in a person. You've seen that in that person, that it's just this quiet confidence that
Mm.
they're unflappable.
Yeah.
Does that make
And
sense?
yeah, and to that point, they would also recognize what their own weaknesses are, and they won't let that weakness become an insecurity necessarily,
Exactly.
but they are self-aware enough to know that, hey, I need help here, or I'm
You're,
dependent upon this or whatever, and you can still walk in a humble confidence through those weaknesses or shortcomings. And I think that's very different than the insecurity who would, I mean, speaking from my own experience, where if I'm identifying a weakness or a shortcoming, my tendency will be to draw back and to be, you know, embarrassed or ashamed or feeling very inadequate, all very self-focused types of emotions, rather than having a confidence through those type of weaknesses or shortcomings. And I think it's more than semantics here. This is an important distinction to make in our mental fitness and our character development, in my character development, because I just I see this. It's as if it's as if a layer of the onion has been peeled back, or some of the blinders have been pulled from my eyes to see that, this is a thing that I've got to work through. It's where I'm too quick to say that I might have an insecurity without realizing the ramifications of that, in that how selfish and self-focused that type of mindset can be, and that's not who I want to be.
Yeah,
The
instead,
quiet confidence is where we need to go.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of hitting the easy button and saying, well, this is the way I am,
Yeah.
and I'm a victim, and then we start to set blame at
Mm-hmm.
things, okay? Instead of
Yep.
hitting that easy button, that quiet confidence says, you know what? I am lacking here. I am lacking here, but I can handle it and I can do something about it. See, taking the victimhood and putting the blame out, you've abdicated responsibility
Yes.
for it. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Somebody else did it or something else did it. Yeah, that's like blaming the computer that it doesn't work. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, but I'm the operator, and the computer
Yeah.
is only going to do what I tell it to do. And if I neglected something, or
Yeah.
even if it does happen on its own, and the computer
Mm-hmm.
glitches or the internet glitches, we just have to take responsibility for it and not be that, oh, I can't get it done because the internet's down. Well,
Mm-hmm.
find something else. Go to your
Yeah.
phone and turn data on and do it on your phone, or what we have to do is have that quiet confidence that, what, I can accept responsibility. I don't like where I'm at. I don't like how I'm doing this, but I accept responsibility to change that.
Yeah.
And what that will do is that will give you a confidence that will just grow on itself. Now, can you be
Mm.
discouraged? Absolutely. Is
Yeah, for
discouragement
sure.
going to happen as you're trying to make that change? Absolutely. But there again, now you can look at it and say, you know what? I'm responsible. I'm going to deal with this. And then we find
Yeah.
ourselves back there again. We go, oh, man. But
Yeah.
it's that quiet confidence in just accepting what's happened. And when I say accept, it doesn't mean you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
In fact, you shouldn't. If it's not what you want, you shouldn't embrace it.
Right.
Let me give you an example. I had a heart attack 3 years ago. Okay.
Mm. Right. Yeah.
I don't own that. It was a heart attack. It's not
Mm.
my heart attack.
Mm.
It was an event that happened to me.
Mm.
And what I had to do was accept the responsibility and say, okay, this has happened. Now
Yeah.
I can become a victim and I can take all the drugs and, just, well, woe is me. And I can see how somebody would go down that trail. Very easy. Okay.
Yeah.
But I stepped back and said, okay, I don't own this. It happened to me, but I'm responsible for it.
Yeah.
And I can respond to what's happened and recover. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope that illustrates this, that's a physical thing that happened, and it's easy to see that, but sometimes things happen in our lives. It's like, man, I need to be better at being compassionate. Okay. Well, I don't have money and it's because of the economy and I can't, be
Mm.
charitable, and okay, step back. Something that you do own is time. Can you give your
Yeah.
time? All of
Right.
us are rich in time. We all own the
Mm.
same amount of time. But can I give that? And if you won't give your time, I guarantee you won't give your money.
Mm.
When and if you get your money,
Mm.
okay?
Yeah, that's true. There's always another way. Yeah.
So it
No, that's fantastic.
it's that quiet confidence that we accept that. And I love what you started with. You said it had to be for somebody else. And I'm just going to share with you something that I learned from it's a religious mentor of mine. But anyway, um, he talks about be full of charity towards men and let virtue. Now, when you hear virtue, a lot of times we think in terms of morality, but think of virtue in power. This fellow lived back in the 19th century, so that word meant power.
Okay.
Okay, virtue meant power. So
Mm-hmm.
be full of charity towards all men and have faith, and let virtue garnish your thoughts unceasingly. Okay, so three things. Have charity, and he's not talking about just paying out money. What he's doing is
Right.
have concern for, like Paul wrote about charity, have concern for the other. So have charity, have faith, and let virtue be your um, mainstay there. And then he talks about, then shall your confidence wax strong.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's we've talked about this before, where the fulfillment of our life comes in the giving and the serving and the sacrifice and the submission and that type of thing, rather than trying to get into hoard and to
Right?
strive and all of that. So yeah, that checks out. That
You know,
checks out.
we throw Jeff Bezos and Howard Schultz and Elon Musk, we throw them under the bus a lot. But what's funny is that somewhere, Bill Gates, I mean, we throw them all under the bus as how can these guys do what they do? Well, I've sent them all a check.
Yeah.
Okay. And on a pretty
Yeah.
regular basis, I send a
Yeah.
check to one of them, but
Uh-huh.
um, they have given value to me. Now, was it done out of charity? That's for them to decide. I
Mm.
saw value in their service
Mm-hmm.
and I responded. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so say what you might about who they are. Do I agree with all of them? No. Um,
You don't have to.
I, but you know what? I have character flaws too. Mine are not as big because I'm not as big of a target.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. They're probably as big, but they're not as blatant because I'm not as big of a target,
They're
right?
not as known, at least.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I have to look back and say they put some power and had faith in what they were doing. I mean, you think of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he was on Wall Street. He had a very successful career going. And, he threw it all away and said, I'm going to start an online book store.
Right. Yeah.
And now look at Amazon. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway,
Yeah. I want to take your heart attack story and relate it back to Saul in um in First Samuel, where he is essentially pulled out of the crowd and appointed by God to have this lofty position that nobody's ever had before in his time and culture. And so it stands to reason that you could have some anxiety about that, right? I mean, this is a pretty big deal. And I can see very easily where you might want to think, I am not I'm not the right guy. In fact, there's all kinds of I am not the right guys in the scriptures, right?
yep,
Moses said it.
Moses, with Aaron, and yep, I'm not a
Yeah,
good
so
speaker, and so Aaron was put in place to.
yep. Yeah, it's all throughout. Um, so what's
Well,
curious though is a couple things. First is that uh, this assignment was given to him by God. So I don't want to make too big a stretch here, but as a person who of faith, who believes the scriptures and who follows Jesus as my king, I believe that when something like that is presented to me that seems impossible or crazy or difficult, that in some fashion, some way, God has prepared me for it. And if I understand who I am and who God has created me to be, then technically I'm already prepared. The trouble is that I will refuse to act in obedience to that because I'm too worried about myself.
Yep.
And I mean, saying it just sounds so ridiculous, but yet that's what I do. And I think others might relate to that. But gee whiz, if we can just remember that who God is, who He has made us to be, what He has called us to do, you and I each have a unique skill set that only we possess and for a purpose that God has made for us to do that nobody else on earth can do. And we should live in that confidence. And but at the same time, being humbly dependent upon the one who has given us all of this to execute that. And insecurity really shouldn't be in our vocabulary. Um, does that seem fair, or is that too big of a stretch?
No, I think you're right on. Go back to Saul. I mean, he was it the Midianites he was supposed to destroy. I can't remember he was commanded to go destroy a
Yeah,
people, and I think it was the
right.
Midianites. I could have that wrong, but he was supposed to destroy everything: the
Yes.
crops, the animals, the people. I mean, he was supposed to just wipe it out,
Yeah,
all of it.
right.
And he came home carrying all the
Yes.
treasures and
Yep.
he came home, and I think it was a lack of confidence because he saw the treasure and he knew that that would really put him in a good light with
Mm,
the people of Israel.
yeah.
Look what he brought home to us: a better
Yes.
economy. We're wealthy, and
Yeah.
okay. And Samuel, the prophet, came to him and said, "Hey, you were commanded to take care
Yeah.
of this. I hear bleeding in my ears of
Yeah.
animals." And
You goofed.
and Saul was funny. Um, he said, "Well, I brought him home to sacrifice to our God."
Mm,
And
yeah. Nice try.
nice try. It didn't work. It didn't work. And so, sometimes we have to have that confidence. And the lesson that Samuel taught Saul is it's better to be obedient than to sacrifice.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that man, I don't want to give up that habit. I don't want to give up. I don't want to change.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard. It's going to be hurtful. And by the way, we've only
Yes.
got 1 minute left, so
Oh no.
I'll tie this up. But anyway, what a great lesson in that we have to be obedient to ourselves. We have to be obedient to that mission, that our skill set that God put us here on the earth
Yeah.
for other people. He put us here
Yes.
to bless others with our talent. So,
Right. Awesome stuff.
what a great
Great.
lesson from.
Yeah. Great stuff today. Insecurity. Remove it
Well,
from our
it,
vocabulary.
it's okay to be aware that you have some weaknesses and faults, but you know what?
Yeah.
You can take responsibility and change that. Make your weakness
Amen.
strengths.
Awesome.
Okay,
Bye, Todd.
Chad. Thank you. Take care.